Good evening and welcome to the December 19th meeting of the Township Committee. Adequate notice of the December 19th, 2022 Township Committee meeting has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by posting written notice and agenda of the meeting on the bulletin board in the municipal building, 1000 Route Sharon, Township of Hanover, and by hand delivering, mailing, or faxing such notice and agenda to the following newspapers: Smallers County's Daily Record, the Star Ledger, the Hanover Eagle, and by filing the same with the Township Clerk. So if you would please take a roll call.
Committeeman Cahill.
Here.
Committeeman Francioli.
Here.
Committeeman Gallagher.
Here.
Committeeman Mahalko.
Here.
Mayor Fairmosco.
Here.
5 members in attendance.
Thank you so much. Please rise to join us for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for prayer.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Almighty God, we ask that you bless this governing body with an abundance of wisdom and understanding, so that every deliberation will result in actions which will promote the common good and the general welfare for all the people of Hanover Township. Amen.
Amen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Our first order of business is a letter of communication from Public Works employee James Quahid Sr. announcing his retirement effective as of December 30th, 2022. James has been employed with the township for over 39 years. May I have a motion to approve his letter of retirement?
So move with regrets.
May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Next is the approval of the Township Committee meeting minutes of November 21st, 2022 and December 8th, 2022. May I have a motion to approve?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Next on the agenda, we have the public hearing and adoption of ordinance numbers 34-2022 and ordinance 35-2022. I'd like to state for the record that both ordinances are land use ordinances, and both of these ordinances were sent to the planning board for referral and review, as well as being filed with the Morris County Planning and Development Office as required by the municipal land use law. And also, in addition to that, the law also requires the township to submit the ordinance to the 5 contiguous municipalities and also to the residents within 200 feet of the proposed regulations. May I have a motion to convene the public hearing on both of these ordinances?
So moved?
May I have a second? Is there anyone in chambers wishing to be heard concerning ordinance number 34 or 35? If so, please state your name and address for the record and which ordinance you would like to make comment on.
Motion to close.
Second?
Yeah, ask again. Go ahead. Just in case.
We're speaking regarding ordinance number 34 or 35. Would anybody like to speak regarding either one of those ordinances?
Okay.
Motion to close?
Motion again to
Second.
close.
May I have a motion on adoption for ordinance number 34 and 35?
So moved?
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, Committeeman Cahill.
Aye.
Committeeman Francioli.
Aye.
Committeeman Gallagher.
Aye.
Committeeman Mahalko.
Yes.
Mayor Fairmosco.
Aye.
So adopted. I'd also like to state for the record that the planning board's letters dated December 14th sent in response to the referral of both ordinance number 34 and ordinance 35 stated that both ordinances are inconsistent with the master plan. The law requires, when adopting an ordinance that is not consistent with the master plan, that it states its reason in a resolution. I'd like to read into the record the title of resolution number 219-2022, which outlines the reason for the Township Committee adopting ordinance number 34. And also resolution number 220-2022, which also outlines the reasons for adopting ordinance 35. Resolution number 219-2022, resolution of the Township Committee of the Township of Hanover stating its reasons for the adoption of ordinance 34-2022, which is inconsistent with the land use and housing element of the master plan. Resolution 220-2022 is a resolution of the Township Committee for the Township of Hanover stating its reasons for the adoption of Ordinance 35-2022, which is inconsistent with the land use and housing element of the master plan. May I please have a motion to pass Resolutions 219 and 220?
First, on a question for the township attorney on protocol and procedure. So those resolutions be read into the record prior to the adoption of the ordinances or before the adoption of the ordinances?
You know, Mr. Giorgio, it's interesting, there's no specific treatise to that effect. So I've always thought that if you first take the action and then you just memorialize your reasons, it's okay, it's consistent with the law. But thank you for bringing that up, because there's no specific answer to that. So either way works. Thank you.
Usually, I used to do the resolutions first and
Yes.
then on adoption.
You can, and
Just that it's...
they're in the record either way, but
Just wanted
understood.
to make sure.
Yes.
May I have a motion to pass the resolution?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call vote, Committeeman Cahill.
Aye.
Committeeman Francioli.
Aye.
Committeeman Gallagher.
Aye.
Committeeman Mahalko.
Yes.
Mayor Beremoska.
Aye.
So approved. Our next order of business is the approval of resolutions as a consent agenda. Resolution numbers 221 through 227. Does any member of the Township Committee have a question about any of these items? May I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next on the agenda, we have to pay the bills in the amount of $536,310.63. May I have a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Lastly, I have one raffle application, raffle number 3379, Assumption College for Sisters, is 50/50. May I have a motion to pass the raffle?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Mayor and the members of the committee, that clears the agenda, and I thank you.
Job well done. We thank you. Okay, at this time, we'd like to open the meeting up to the public. If there's a member of the public who'd like to address Township Committee at this time, please do so by coming to the podium in the back of the room and stating your name and address so that we can get it on the record. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. I'm Paula Dewar. I live at 51 Malapartis Road, right around the corner here. My question is, what is going on with the ordinance? I don't understand it. I want to know what's going to happen at that corner, or if it's the corner, or where. People on my street are asking questions. No one knows. I mean, yes, it's an ordinance, and it's a lot of humbo-jumbo because we don't understand the jargon that comes with this. What is a highway area? What's going to happen? Are we going to have a lot of trucks coming and going? What do you propose for this electric supply area? And what are the extra parking spaces for? Now, I feel that we're the forgotten group. I feel like a Native American because we voiced opinions, we were told things about Quick Check, they weren't done the way we were told they were going to be done. We have a terrible time. The reason we were a few minutes late, we can't get on our street at this time. We cannot make a left turn off of Ukraine Road. And is this going to add to the misery that I know we're a few houses, but we're people that have been in this town forever. A lot of the people on Malapartis built this town, and now there's a lot of senior citizens, but we need to know, what are you doing? What's going on with that property? Now, so if you could clarify
Sure.
that for me,
No.
I'd appreciate it.
All good questions. That property now currently is zoned residential. That property has been going through a bit of a change. The estate has decided it wanted to sell the property, number one. Number two, the township evaluated many different potential options for that property. As a result of it, we believe that the best option for that property is to make it as part of what we call the business zone, the B10 zone. We'll get into some specifics with this, but I just wanted to give you at a very high level to get an understanding as to what the five of us have been looking at. We've been looking at this for a while, and you're asking good questions about the electronic charging center that potentially may be there, maybe not. But we can assure you this, whatever does go there, it has to go through a full planning board application process. And that planning board application process will take into account public safety. Job number one for this township committee and the town at large is public safety. And part of the area, the criteria that we'll examine closely is, based upon the use that goes there, how much traffic generation will there be? And based upon that amount of traffic generation, what then needs to be done with that intersection that you're talking about to make it safe and manageable? So with that, what I'd like to do is give Blaze an opportunity to comment a little bit more specifically about the ordinance itself that we went through in terms of the review.
All right, I don't want to give you a lot of information that you don't want to have, but I'll break it down into three parts. The first part is the changing of a portion of that property. And when I say a portion, it's the portion that's at the intersection of Ukraine Road and South Jefferson. Basically across the street from Quick Check. Doesn't go as far as Quick Check, but across the street from Quick Check. And then across from the Mondelez property on South Jefferson Road. Those are both today in the same B10 zone. This would be putting them in that same zone as what's across the street. The feeling of both the planning board and the governing body was that corner was not exactly a great place to put a single-family home. The second part of the ordinance is adopting regulations related to electrical vehicle charging stations. This was required by state law. It was adopted a year or so ago by the state. The Department of Community Affairs then adopted what was called a model ordinance, which is technically already the law. Whether the governing body were to adopt that part of the ordinance or not, it would still be the law. And basically what that does is says that for commercial uses and for multifamily housing, they have to provide charging equipment for electric vehicles. The idea is to encourage the ownership and use of electric vehicles to reduce greenhouse gas emissions for environmental reasons. The third part of that ordinance is to allow in limited locations a charging facility that would just be a charging facility and not with a commercial project or not with a multifamily housing project, but just basically to have a parking lot with electric charging in it. And if the way the ordinance reads, if you're within a half mile of 287 in a commercial zone district, you'd be allowed to do this. And again, not as part of another project. So to answer your question, what's going to go there, we don't know what's going to go there. What could go there would be anything that that zone permits, which would include electric vehicle charging facility for charging cars that basically want to go there, park, plug into a machine and have their electric vehicle charged. It could be some other use, though, that the B10 zone permits retail uses, it permits offices, it permits some other uses as well. Any of those would be permitted there, just like they're permitted on the Mondelez site, just like they're permitted on the Quick Check site. So it would be something compatible with that. The thinking was that possibly it could be a charging facility, but I can't guarantee that it would be that. So, and it's difficult to answer your question about truck traffic or anything like that without really knowing what the use would be. So if it was an electric vehicle charging place, basically it would be cars that would go there, park for a while, and then leave. If it were some other use, it's difficult to say what it would be. It's not a large area that's being affected. It's a little over an acre in size. So it would not be a very large facility, whatever it was.
And that area was proposed, was surveyed as being wetlands. Do you have to do any preparation to that in order to have something put on that property?
Well, whoever would develop it, and again, we're not developing it, it would be, a developer would develop it, they would be required to comply with the wetland regulations. Most of that 10.7 acre property is wetland, particularly in the southern portion. The portion up near Ukraine Road is not wetlands, based upon studies that we have done and others have done. And that wetlands would extend into the area that's being rezoned, some of it. So even though 1.3 acres of the area that would be rezoned is, some of that is even wetlands. So even the developable area of that 1.3 acres is less than 1.3 acres. So it's really a fairly small amount of developable property that's there. The remainder of that property would remain as it is today in the R25 single-family zone district.
Okay. While I have the podium, my maiden name is Salka, so you know you get me out in front of people and I don't stop. But one thing that really sticks in my craw, and I don't know which of you is in charge of police and roads and things like that, but there are multiple signs on Ukraine Road that say no stopping or standing, and everybody parks, and I feel like they're making fun of the fact that they're there. So either they need to come down or they need to be enforced, because it just bothers me that the law says no stopping or standing, and you have limousines and buses and trucks and everything parked in these zones. So whoever is in charge of that, kind of think it over. And another thing is, we're a dead end, and we have a sign at the end of the road that says dead end. I can count at least 5, maybe 10 cars within a week, not even a week, that go down our road thinking they're going to get onto 287 or across. And the thing is, when they get to the end, they get angry. And we're a 25-mile zone. They gun it going down the street to get back out again because they're angry that they hit a wall. And I worry about all the little children that are on our street. Thank goodness we've repopulated with families with children, but they're out in the road, and especially in good weather. And I watch we walk our dogs, and I watch them going up and down this road, and I don't know exactly what to do. I mean, maybe we need a little more police coming down the road at times, or a bigger sign, or something. But I'm really appealing to the fact that I worry, because I know when I make a mistake and I'm angry, I'll do stupid things. And it doesn't just happen once. It's multiple times that they just hit that gas and zoom down the road. So those two things, if you could just kind of put that somewhere.
Thank you for alerting us to that issue. We are aware of it. We are aware of it, and as a result of our awareness, we instituted the changes on that road to implement no parking, no standing, out of safety. You're absolutely right. And we'll bring that to the attention of the police department, your commentary, but I'll appeal on behalf of the committee to you. When you see that happening, please call our police department. It's not a waste of time. They want to hear it.
Okay.
We've got 75 miles of roads in Hanover Township, and they want to respond. They want to do the best job they can for the public. It's a sensitive issue. I think your other idea is some of these people are getting lost, so to speak. They think that they're going to access an interstate highway from coming down the road, and they're not. Maybe we can work on some signs entering again, letting them know, no access. This is a dead end. There is no access.
I could bet you that more than 50% of the people don't even see the dead end sign. That they're just so intent on getting where they want to be, they don't even see that it's there. I don't know if we need a blinking light or, but it's almost like they don't believe that it's a dead end. So
We will.
I appreciate-
We will bring that up. We will ask our police department, traffic, to advise us as to what additional elements could be introduced there to make the traveler from outside of this area aware that this is really a dead-end street. You're not going to enter going on 287 north or south from the street. It's not going to happen.
Right.
But
right.
thank you for coming out and spending your time and discussing this with us tonight.
Like I said, I'm speaking for my street, and I grew up there, and I've got a real feeling for it, but I also feel that people on the street, we're a community, and we just want to be heard. So, thank you very
You're welcome.
much.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Greg Dewar, her husband, 51 Malapartis Road, Whippany, New Jersey. A couple of points. We missed the initial ordinances in reading because we left at 10 to 6 to get here. You saw us walk in at 4 minutes after 6, so it took me 14 minutes to go a mile. The traffic pattern that was, I guess, initiated by the state has, as soon as the red light occurs to stop the traffic going east and west on Route 10, an arrow occurs to allow everyone to make a right turn onto Malapartis. Now, previous to that turn, they could make the right turn on the green light. Now they can make the right turn on the arrow. We can't get out. The traffic going north on South Jefferson sometimes stretches all the way back to the railroad tracks. And this occurs from approximately 4 o'clock until, well, 10 to 6. That's how many were out. How did I have to get here? I had to illegally drive through the gas station, then have a guy slam on his brakes in his Honda because he was coming down the road at God knows how fast in order to allow me to get out, and I thought I had pulled out with enough time. And then I have to go around the jug handle and try and find a way in, but the people are stopped in front of me because they want to be on the 2 left lanes, not the center lane. We were also told that there wasn't going to be an entrance to the quick check on Ukraine Road. That went up in smoke. The next point is there is no way for us to get out if there was a fire in that area because of the barrier that's up, and there is no access as per state law off Malapartis Road onto Route 10. So we're trapped. Once the condos and the rest of the development continue over by Eden Lane and in other areas, then the traffic is only going to build up even more. One of the members of the Township Committee told me originally, and I even stated it orally at this meeting, that as members of residences of Ukraine Road, we were allowed to pull into the Xbox because that was allowable for us. So I checked with the police chief, and he told me he'd ticket me. So that went up in smoke. The final thing that I want to leave with was I mentioned in terms of the speed of people being on the road before Quick Check was built about putting speed bumps in. And then another member of the committee proceeded to tell me, and all this should be recorded, that there's no way they're going to put speed bumps in Hanover Township. Well, there's some interesting ones over by Quick Check right now on the other side roads. So I'm at a loss for thought.
Well, let's break them down. You brought up some good points. First point was the access to leaving your street is being impacted by travelers on Route 10 East making a right on red.
Yep.
So I'm going to ask Mr. Massera if he could contact the state to see if they can do something with the timing so that the right turn on red doesn't happen, that potentially can give us a little bit of a break. So if we're on Ukraine and we're trying to get out, we can get out. We don't have to worry about dealing with cars coming at us from the north and cars coming at us from the south.
Thank you.
Second one is the entrance onto Ukraine Road. That exit and entrance, there's testimony, and it goes back a while from the planning board hearings themselves. And Blaze, maybe you can help get that information. But there's testimony on it that the owner of that property was understanding and responsive to the people who lived on Malapartis. And if there was somebody who lived in the Malapartis area, he's not going to put out a sign and tell us about it, but if somebody was living on Malapartis and they wanted to access 10, they could use the Quick Check property to do so. Okay, so that is in the public record. We need to resurrect that so you have a copy of it. The issue of the entrance from Quick Check onto Ukraine Road itself. So if I was trying to get out of the Quick Check, that was a result of a study that was conducted by our police department trying to advance safety. And that, it was believed, because that was one lane originally. That
Yeah.
driveway was one way.
Now it's two.
Now it's two. And the belief was that that would further lessen the impact that goes on at that corner. It's a very tough corner, what you're dealing with, Ukraine and South Jefferson. I understand it, exactly what you're saying. But the police department did do a study, and based upon the recommendation of our police department, the Township Committee supported that. So that's why that happened. It wasn't an issue of Quick Check coming to us. This was the town going back to Quick Check, telling them, you need to amend to advance public safety.
Well, Mike, if I may,
Sure.
for 10 years, I was a volunteer firefighter when I lived in Mendham. And I understand the idea of trying to get a fire truck in on a single lane there. That would be an interesting challenge. So 2 lanes, I respect that, and that would certainly be the safety equipment that we needed. But everyone that buys gas at Quick Check, 65% of them don't use the stop sign. They just blow right through it. So if you're coming south on South Jefferson and you make a right turn onto Ukraine Road and somebody is exiting the gas station, you better have your foot on the brake. Because the people just come right through and cut right in front of you. They see that as a yield rather than a stop. But the other point, which I'd like you to consider or address, would be the idea of some speed bumps on our road.
Okay, this is something that, I would recommend that you bring this to the attention of our engineering department. Our engineering department welcomes recommendations. Mr. Massera is our director of engineering. So if you could set up a meeting at his office, he can listen, get a better understanding as to the issues.
I'd be happy to do that, but again, I did bring it up to the board, and I was told that we don't do that in East Hanover. That's exactly what one of the members said.
Well, I would recommend that you reintroduce the idea. The last point that you brought up, and it's something that I know we considered, but perhaps it can get dusted off again. We don't want to provide another access point to your community from Route 10, but we do understand your concern about emergency. So, Jerry, Mr. Massera, if you could look at, once again, is there a way to provide an emergency exit from this residential area onto Route 10, emergency exit? I know it's challenging because you're dealing with an XL lane from a state highway, but I think it's worthy of dusting it off and looking at it to see potentially what could be done.
I do believe that exists now. I think there's a gate across that allows the police department to open that.
It's a chain now.
A chain gate, yeah.
So let me get this clear. So in the event of emergency, our police department can go there
Right.
and remove the chain and then direct traffic so that if I needed to get out and I was a residential individual, I could access Route 10. So good news is that is already in place.
That's my
Well,
understanding.
but you have to jump the curb, go across the gas, and then jump the curb back off onto Route 10.
I believe there's a low-profile curve there that
Yeah,
does
it's-
allow you to do that. So, yeah, in an emergency, most
Yeah.
vehicles can navigate that.
right, thank
And I
you.
could look at that. I'm sure there's an easement or some record that allows that.
Okay, we'll
With the
look
DOT,
into it.
obviously
And
that's DOT
we do
jurisdiction.
recommend setting up a meeting with Mr. Massera to go over the points.
Okay.
And we thank you for bringing them up.
Good evening, everyone. Terry
evening.
Beard,
Welcome.
180 Parsippany Road in the Woodbury section of Hanover. We're going to have a start of a new year, and I would like to see, I go to the planning board meetings, and I actually go to other planning board meetings in other towns to see how they're run. And there's an interesting thing that I see is that a lot of them have an open to the public part. And in order to promote transparency and public access to our committees and such, I would recommend that at the beginning of your planning board meetings, that you have an open to the public part. I know the other towns have it. It's very rarely used. Maybe once or twice a year, somebody will come up. It's usually an attorney. And just to give the ability for the public to have access to the planning board directly. At this point in time, you have no access to the planning board. I've tried. I sent an email. I had to divert it through Kim. And I waited and I got no response. 3 weeks out, nothing. And I sent another one, nothing again. And I actually had to contact Joe to try to get an answer to my question to the planning board. I don't know if that's how you want it, but I can tell you as a person, a resident of the town, having access is better than not having access. And I mean, if somebody wants to ask a question or bring something to the planning board's attention, they really don't have that ability, because there's no ability to have any kind of dialogue with the actual planning board, as evidenced by the fact that I had to get in touch with Mr. George, with Joe, to try to get an answer to my emails to the planning board, of which was supposed to go to all the members of the planning board, and I have no verification that that even happened. So that's what I would recommend for
I understand your
next year.
point. Let's break it down a little bit. There potentially are 3 planning board meetings a month, potentially. First one of the month typically is what's called a work session. The second and third are normally applicants giving their presentations. I think what your suggestion is that during the work session, which is the beginning of the month, that we include a time frame so that the member of the public is attending the meetings, and members of the public are all welcome to attend every one of these meetings. No question about that. And every member of that planning board that sits in the room is a member of this community, with the exception of a statutory person that's on it, but everybody else is a member of the community, so I don't see it being a problem to bring this to their attention, and Deputy Mayor and I will bring it to the attention of the planning board.
Okay, I appreciate that, because I think that would be a step forward rather than a roadblock like it seems to be right now. Like I said, I've, see other towns, and it's very rarely used, but, there might be a person like myself who had a question, and weeks and weeks and weeks go by, and, you don't even get an answer, and you can't even, email that person directly. It's got to go to Kim and then be diverted, and then in the diversion, I don't know, did it go to everybody on the planning board, or did it just go to the planning board president? I have no idea. I asked for it to go to every single
All right,
person.
thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Any other member of the public who'd like to address the Township Committee at this time, please do so by going to the podium, stating your name and address. Seeing none, I'd like to get a motion to close this portion of the meeting.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, before we get into other business, on behalf of the Township Committee, we would like to issue a Happy Hanukkah for those who are celebrating the Festival of Lights. We would like to issue a very, very Merry Christmas, which is coming along in less than a week from now, and a happy and a healthy New Year. So we wish you all the best for this wonderful season that you will be soon encountering, and we hope you spend some quality time with your family and your friends and enjoy it. And may it be peaceful, and may you have some good cheer and some good times. So with that said, what we'll do is, if there's a member of the Township Committee who'd like to bring to the attention of the public or the committee any issues, now so would be the time. So we'll start from the right.
Nothing at this time.
Okay? Ron?
What? I didn't know we were going on this. We did everything last time. Everything last week.
Ron, you're up.
I'm going to be as brief as Mike, but I do just want to put out a concern from our past Board of Health meeting, and I want to bring to everybody's attention what they probably already know. We do have an epidemic situation going on, statistically, between the flu, respiratory disease, and still COVID. So it is highly recommended that this season, when you're with family, friends, gatherings, events, etc., you take the best precautions as you possibly can. If you wish to use masks, you can use masks and do so. And on that note, I just want to say that here in Hanover, we're very comfortable. The amount of issues that we've had with COVID have been significantly low. We hope it'll continue that way, but I don't want anybody to have a false sense of security. The current virus is just that. It's a very flu-like virus. It can last several days, and for some people, it can last several weeks. So just be aware and take your own personal precautions.
Thank you. Brian?
Actually, John, you took the words right out of my mouth, so I have no other comment other than to, again, wish everybody a very, very happy holiday, and be safe out there, and enjoy.
Okay. Deputy Mayor?
In addition to what you said, John, and what Brian just said also, and Mike and Ron, I would just like to say a little bit to add to what I said at the last meeting. This is a wonderful time, a happy time, but it's also a very sad time for too many people. Believe it or not, somebody wants to hear from every one of us. So if you get a chance, pick up the phone. Again, you say hello, tell a funny story, let somebody know you're thinking of them and you care about them, because it is a beautiful time, but it also can be a very sad, lonely time. So to conclude, Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy Hanukkah. Have a great time. Let's all we'll eat a little too much, but we'll all find our gyms in Hanover Township and work it off together. But thank you, John.
Okay, one issue I just want to bring to everybody's attention is public safety. We treat it very seriously. That's our commitment to the community. In regards to public safety, there is an alert system called RAVE, spelled R-A-V-E. You can sign up for RAVE via the township's website. If you don't know how to sign up for RAVE on the township's website, please come to Town Hall and we'll help you sign up for RAVE. RAVE is important. It's a really good tool. It keeps you informed about what's going on in your community. This morning, at 8:52 a.m., there was a major power outage that affected multiple communities, to include almost 80% of Hanover Township. There were 10,000 people without electric service starting at 8:52 a.m. Shortly thereafter, those of you who are on RAVE got a message from RAVE alerting you to this fact. We put immediately up on the township website, Mr. Giorgio put it immediately there on what to do if you were out of power, because we didn't know at 8:52 whether it was just this building that was out of power or there were hundreds or thousands of people without power. So what's really important is to report it. So we immediately got up onto the township's website information on how to communicate that information to the service provider, JCP&L. Fortunately, JCP&L got on it immediately. It was a major transmission outage that affected this area, and by 9:29, approximately 6,000 of the 10,000 were restored with power, and the remaining 4,000 customers were restored with power by 10:15. That's great that they worked so quickly to restore it. It's important. However, if you were home, you knew it. But if, let's say you weren't home, you were out of the area, and you were worried whether your sump pump was going to work, whether your heating system was not going to work, not having any idea when power would be going back on. That's why it's important to use RAVE. Please sign up for RAVE. All right, at this time, may I get a motion to conclude this portion of our meeting? So to adjourn this portion, but we'll soon be going into a personnel work session.
So moved. I'd like to remind the public about up-and-coming reorganization dates and invited.
Sure. The Township Committee will be going through the process, our annual process of reorganization. And our first reorganization meeting will be conducted on Thursday night, the 6th. Thursday night, January 5th, at 6 o'clock here. So it's January 5th, 6 o'clock in this room. So we look forward to those of you who can attend to join us for that reorganization meeting. Okay? So may I get a motion to adjourn this portion of our meeting, but don't go anywhere because we're going to...
So moved.
Second?
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we're going to go, now we're going to go into the main conference room. And we have some open public issues to cover about some recreational issues and then meeting dates and times. And subsequently to that, we'll be going to a closed personnel session.